Hi guys, it's Interviews with Ash here, and today I would like to introduce the artist Nicola Dale.
Hi. Sorry, I was a bit slow off the mark there.
I was doing. And now I'd like to start with an icebreaker, which is a funny joke.
Okay, well, I think it's probably more of a terrible joke than a funny joke. And I hope I can get away with it because I live with an Irishman. So here you go. What do you call an Irishman who's been standing out in the garden all night? Patio furniture. Sorry. It's a shocker.
I have a series of questions I'd like to ask you, Nicola. What age did you decide to become an artist?
Well, I don't think it was something I decided. I think it's just something that I was. I always drew and painted and made things and made up dances and made up songs and just was always creative. And then as I was going through my school life, I tended towards art subjects. So I loved art and I loved languages and English and very much kind of was on that side of things. And then by the time I got to university, when I did my A-levels, I couldn't decide between doing English or doing art. And I actually started off doing English, but I dropped out because I knew I'd made the wrong decision. And I did a course called an Art Foundation course, which is 1 year where you decide what you're going to do with your artistic skills. So you might go into fine art, you might go into design or fashion or 3D. But I went the kind of more fine art route. And then by that stage, I knew that actually when I left uni, I wanted to be an artist professionally. And so it was always with me really, but actually going to university and doing a course at uni really settled it for me. And I did quite an unusual degree course. So it wasn't so much that it was training you in a specific type of art. So it wasn't just that you were going to become a painter or a sculptor or a printmaker. The idea was that you would become a creative person. So the whole focus of the course was ideas. And it's something that lots of creative people struggle with, actually. How do you have ideas? Where do ideas come from? And that's what that whole 3 years was about.
What sort of languages did you learn, or at the time?
Well, I learned French and I learned German, but also, obviously, I was doing English, but also my mum is Polish. So I grew up when I was little bilingual, so I could speak Polish and English. Unfortunately, as I got older, I lost a lot of my Polish. I'm all right now. Like if you drop me in Poland and I had to survive, I'd be okay. But I hate the sound of my accent. It's awful. I hear it coming out and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. But I've always just enjoyed listening to people. Yeah, it's something I really, really enjoy. And I enjoy trying to work out languages that I don't know from the ones that I do. So I've spent some time in Italy and I like trying to work out what people are saying. And every so often I'll catch a word and I'll know that it's like French or it's like Polish or it's like English, and I can kind of work out what people are saying. And I guess that love of languages carries over into art as well. You know, a lot of the work that I do is sort of translation, really. It's translating an idea into a performance or a sculpture or an image.
That's really good. Next question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone who influenced you to become an artist?
Well, there's lots of artists I admire. I should also say I had some fantastic teachers. Teachers are always so important and you never appreciate them at the time enough. And then when you finish your education, you think, actually, that teacher was amazing. So the teachers that I had on my degree, especially, were just absolutely fantastic. But there's an artist who's really inspired me, and she's called Agnes Martin. She's a painter. Her work is nothing like mine at all, or rather, I should say, my work is nothing like hers. She's an abstract painter, but her paintings are full of emotion and they are beautiful. They're really, really beautiful. And she had quite a an interesting life. She sent herself off to the desert and lived on her own for most of her life, but she really wanted to get her feelings into her work. And her pieces are some of the few pieces that I've seen in galleries that have actually made me cry. Because you walk into a room of her work and the effect is so powerful, it's almost like you feel her in the room. She's a very generous artist. And I think that's what I really like about her work as well. So she's really inspiring. So I keep her in mind, even though my work doesn't look like hers. Her sort of generosity and just the way she really makes you look and look again and keep looking is something that is really inspiring to me.
That's amazing. Our next question, is there a favourite piece of artwork that you've done?
This is a really difficult question because I sort of feel that I can't single any particular piece out because it wouldn't be fair to the others. It's almost like they're my children and I don't want to pick a favourite. But there are pieces that stick out for different reasons. So some of them may be because of the amount of time and effort that they took. So when I was first coming out of college, I was making works that would take an incredibly long time. So there was one piece of work that I made that took over a year to make. It was all made by hand. It was really intricate. It took me a long time. And I just had to give so much to this piece of work that, although I wouldn't call it a favourite as such, it really sticks out in my memory. And then there are other pieces as well that just require a different kind of concentration. So if I'm doing a performance piece, I'm there in front of people, and I'm not actually someone who kind of wants the limelight as such. So it's quite a struggle to go and do a performance and be in front of people. But there's pieces that I've done that really require me to concentrate and be out there in front of people and do something usually quite difficult during the performance and just stay doing that thing. So there's one performance piece that I've done where I have to stay really, really still for a very long time. And it's always such a huge physical and mental effort that, again, it's not a favourite as such, but it really stands out in my memory.
That's really interesting. So our next question, is there anyone that you've worked with that you've enjoyed?
Yes, several people. So in fact, you and your mum are two people, along with Claire and Patty and David. So you all were so brilliant performing in a piece that we did together at Manchester Central Library. It was part of a series of works that I did over 3 different weekends in 2016, I think, or maybe 2017. Can't quite remember. I can check on that later. But that was just brilliant working with you, and amazing for me because I'm normally the person performing in those situations, but I wasn't, and I got the pleasure of standing back and watching you make this work come alive in front of the audience. It was just really lovely. I enjoyed that so much. That's got a real, again, I can't call it a favourite because that wouldn't be fair to other pieces, but it's got a special place in my heart. So I loved working with you. And then there's also a composer and a playwright that I've worked with a few times called Ailish Narayan. She's Irish. There's a bit of an Irish theme. And I've worked with her a few times, but we did a piece of work together earlier this year that was on display in Derry in Northern Ireland. And I mean, that was just great. I can show you some pictures of that after. She's a really inspiring person as well, actually. She's totally dedicated to her work. She works incredibly hard. She's so musical. She's got such a good ear, which I said earlier, I love listening, but I don't have that kind of ear. She's just incredible to work with. So, but I've worked with lots of amazing people, but yeah, yourselves and Ailish really stand out.
And I must say that I really enjoyed, I think working, it was kind of like we were part of almost like the audience, and like it was mysterious to them that they didn't actually know that we was there, but we was in front of them while they were working, like reading. It was like an immersive feel. I just really enjoyed it.
I'm so pleased you said that.
Just a lovely atmosphere. It was amazing.
It was. And that's the kind of magic that you always want to happen, but doesn't always happen, unfortunately. But on that day, you could see that people were working in that room. And when we all first came in and started, a lot of people were kind of maybe, oh, what's going on? What's this disturbance? But you could see heads rising off desks. And there was moments where everyone was just really quiet, just engrossed in what you were doing. So nice.
And it was just like when we was building the abacuses, and everyone was just kind of just looking mysterious, thinking, what are we doing? And it was like a brilliant art piece, and the sound echoing. It was just amazing.
It was, wasn't it? It was so good.
And you're amazing as well.
Oh, well, so are you. Takes one to know one, surely.
And our next question, what are some of the projects that you are working on?
Well, at the minute, I'm working with a professor, actually. So he's called Adam Smythe, and he's got a very grand title. He's a professor of English literature and the history of the book, and he's based at Oxford. And all this makes him sound very grand, but he's actually an incredibly down-to-earth, lovely person. And I've known him for a few years through various kind of book-related things, because my work is often inspired by reading, as you might have guessed from the work in the library. So we've kind of been on each other's radar, and we've known each other for a while. And then last year we decided to formally collaborate. So we chatted for a while, and we couldn't quite decide how to do that, because obviously he's not an artist, and he's coming from an academic background with an interest in reading and books and what books are and how they change over time. So eventually we started talking about his own sort of collection of books that he has that are special to him. So he showed me this book, and it's an amazing little book. It's a copy of The Art of Love. So it's Roman love poetry that was translated into English in the 1800s. But what's really special about this copy of his book is that over time, loads of people added to this book, a bit like a scrapbook. So it just became this crazy collection of bits stuck in, and bits of writing, all different types of handwriting, different bits of information, all stuck into this book. It's the equivalent of a Google search, but as an object. So, if you're going online and you want to search some information, and in this case, information on love, I suppose, and lots of things come up, don't they? Well, this book, that's kind of what it's become. It's become kind of this container for all these different bits of information about love and relationships and marriage and family. It's amazing. So he was showing me this book, and I was like, this is it. This is the starting point for our work. So through lots of conversation and lots of hard work, we've come up with a grand plan, which is a series of sculptures from my side, but then also writing. So Adam's been doing some writing, I've been doing some writing, and some of that writing we would like to be performed and spoken out loud in amongst my sculptures. So the sculptures will sort of become a kind of stage or a setting for voices. So that's what we kind of researched for the whole of last year. And then this year I've started to make actual finished pieces. So hopefully the first set of those pieces are going to be exhibited in the autumn, although because of the pandemic everything's a bit iffy, so hopefully it will go ahead. But I mean, it will go ahead eventually anyway, hopefully this year. If not, then it will be next year. And so our plan is to build up what will eventually be a huge installation of lots of different types of sculpture in which lots of different things can be performed. But I'm starting smaller, just doing kind of one set of sculptures at a time, and then over time the exhibition will kind of grow and grow and grow, and there'll be more writing. We're continuing to write, we're continuing to have ideas. So it's a long-term project, really. I've also recently been informed that I am going to be doing something next year, which I can't announce what it is yet because I've been told I'm not allowed, but it's going to be happening in the Northwest in 2020, and it's around a similar sort of theme as well. So they're my two main pieces of work at the moment. There's always other little bits going on. I do a bit of teaching, so I teach MA students in Leeds, but they're the sort of main things that are happening at the moment.
I must say that it's really inspirational how like all these things have like come together, and it's just like different and you know, like it's just there's a lot there going, a lot going for you, and it's really good that someone like you can really get involved in something that not everyone can get involved with. So that's really good.
Oh, thank you. It's not easy. It's a lot of work, but I try and get it done. Thank you.
The meaning behind it as well. It's really, really good. So,
Oh, thank you.
next question: where would you like to be in 5 years?
Oh, this is like a great kind of project management inspirational question. My main concern at the moment is space to work in. So it's really hard getting studio space, and I have one at the moment, but the future of it is looking a bit doubtful. So my first concern for the next 5 years is to actually find working space, which I'm working on at the moment, and I'm hoping that I'm going to see a place tomorrow night actually in Stockport where I live. I'm hoping there's going to be kind of some room to go into there and something a bit more settled, because artists get kind of pushed and pulled around a little bit. It's hard to find space to work, and as you know, city centres and town centres get gentrified, we get thrown out of places. So we're always kind of hopping around looking for places to work, because obviously making objects in the way that I do, I need space, and I just don't have the room at home to do that. So that's my initial thing of finding somewhere settled for the next 5 years. But beyond that, I'm always trying to push myself, go further, go bigger, go deeper, go wider. So this work with Adam that I'm doing, so the professor from Oxford, I'm hoping that that will kind of increase and increase and increase. The venues where we show that work will have to get bigger, because the work is getting bigger and bigger. I want to reach as many people as possible as I can with my work. And I'd really like to do more international work as well. I've done a little bit of international work. So I've been abroad for residencies and performances, but I've never kind of had big solo projects out there. So that's something that I really want to happen within the next 5 years. I feel like I've got my actual work and my methods to a place where I'm happy with them. I just want to push them. But then it's more about kind of the getting out into the world a bit more. So that's the focus really for the next 5 years, pushing this work with Adam, getting it bigger and bigger, and kind of getting it out nationally, and then going international as well. So, you know, big dreams. I'll try and make them happen.
And I think as well that you're really inspirational and really encouraging, that the work that you're doing, it's like you want to travel around the world and just make everyone a part of your journey and bring everyone into your world of amazing art, creativity, and it's just inspiring to hear someone like you just, you know, just touch people in different ways, and it's amazing.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know, it's not just my journey. Hopefully, it's our journey. And one of the best things about this work is that I get to meet all sorts of different people, and we kind of share things together, and it's great.
Our next question:
Yes.
do you have any hobbies or things that make you relax?
Well, I'm not very good at relaxing. I am quite a workaholic, but it's because I love doing what I do. You know, no one's forcing me to do this. I do this because I really enjoy it. So I love reading, but quite often that reading turns into work, because I'll often be reading, even if it's reading for pleasure, and I'll think, oh, wait a minute, that gives me an idea. So I'm not sure if that's really relaxing work, although I do enjoy it. Over lockdown, I've really spent a lot of time out in the backyard, which used to be a mess, but I've really tidied it up now. And I found that quite relaxing, just being outdoors, putting little plants out, cutting things, moving things around. Nothing to do with art whatsoever, which is a good thing. But then the other relaxing thing is listening to music. So my partner, I love music, but well, I thought I did. I thought I was a music fan until I met my partner. And then I realised, hey, I'm not a fan at all. He is a total obsessive. You know, he loves music from all over the world, from all different eras, centuries even. So we spend a lot of time listening to music. So if I'm stressed, he'll put on some relaxing music for me. So I like to kind of kick back, maybe with a bit of Nina Simone, who's my favourite. Depends. But I suppose listening to music would be a relaxation tool. What do you do to relax?
What I do to relax sometimes is listen to music like yourself.
Yeah.
I tend to like create things and create music that helps me to be calm. And I like, when I create music, I like to do calming sort of music, ambient music. I
Oh,
try and mix things up and make it so that it's like, it can be like kind of like a fast-paced music, then slow it down, and it kind of gets you in that kind of the mood to want to concentrate for certain things and music. And if I'm doing like maybe like a little quiz, it will really help me, the music that I make, to kind of focus. And that's what I really enjoy, and it makes me feel relaxed. So that
yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I used to, when I was doing my exams, when I was doing my A levels, I used to listen to fast music because I thought that it would help me revise faster. I'm not sure how effective it was, but I gave it a go.
next question.
Mhm.
Is there something you've always wanted to do but never got the chance to do it?
Yes, that's that. I love this question because it's really made me think about it again, and I've not thought about it for a while. It is kind of work related, but do you know, earlier in the conversation, I was talking about Agnes Martin, the artist, and I said that she went off and she kind of took herself off into the desert and just devoted herself to her work. Well, that's something I think I'd quite like to do. It might sound a bit odd, just carrying yourself off somewhere and just being alone, but
That's good.
yeah, I think I'd like to spend some time just doing my work on my own. And the reason that I've never done that is because it's pretty impractical. You know, I would really miss my friends and my family. Obviously, I've got bits of work that I have to do, but if there's some opportunity at some point to take myself off, but you know, three months, 6 months, I couldn't do it forever like Agnes Martin did it. I couldn't. um, but if I could do that for a little while, I think it would be really good, really, really good.
It's like a retreat, isn't it? So it'll like take you back, and you can focus, and you
Absolutely.
see everything in the desert. It'll just be really amazing.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the being in lockdown has made me think about that actually. So there's lots of things about lockdown that are terrible. Um, but you know, I've been spending a lot of time on Zoom calls like this, some of which are lovely, some of which are worky.
And there's also some good during lockdown as well, because I think it's helped some people to be more creative as well, and reassess life and know what you're missing out on as well, and things that you didn't notice before you can notice now.
Ab-
So
Absolutely. And it's just been a time to think about what's actually really important. What's important and who's important. And I find that there's lots of things about everyday life I probably don't really miss. There are things that I definitely do. You know, being able to meet up with people is a big thing. But we're lucky that this has happened at a time where we've got communications and we can actually talk to each other. But you know, there's a little part of me is just I guess I'm like this anyway, of just how much further could I push it? You know, if I can cope in lockdown, can I cope away by myself with no communication, just doing my work? And it's something that I'd like to test.
sounds good. I think you should.
Thank you. One day I will try.
Our next question. Do you have a favourite country you'd like to visit or been to?
Well, I was really lucky last year to go to Venice. So I was invited to be part of a group exhibition and a short residency. So I was there for 3 weeks. I'd never been to Venice before, and it was just amazing. It was like being in a dream. You know, in dreams, well, I don't know if this happens to you, but I quite often am walking down corridors and turning corners, and I don't know what's going to happen next, and it's some sort of maze. Venice is like that. It's amazing, absolutely incredible. There's art everywhere. So Venice really stuck with me, and I'd like to go back there one day. But also a few years ago, we went on a break to Iceland, and that was just amazing. Such a different landscape. There's hardly any wildlife. When you arrive in Reykjavik, it looks like the moon. You're coming down on the plane to the airport and it looks like the moon. It's just these weird grey rocks everywhere. The snow, when it falls, is perfect, dry, beautiful snow. It's one of the greenest countries on earth because everything is powered by volcanoes. So they have volcano power. I went. I went to see a volcano. It wasn't active anymore, but the whole top of it had frozen over, and the water. It was really sulfuric, so it's kind of like a really greeny blue. It looked like porcelain the whole way across the top of this volcano. Just beautiful, just an amazing place, like nothing I've ever seen before. So, you know, there's the part of me that loves the art and the city and the hustle and the bustle, and then there's part of me that loves just wide open spaces and freedom and fresh air. So yeah.
I've always wanted to go to Iceland. I've always had a passion for it, and the way everything, the culture, the people, and one of my favourite artists is from Iceland,
Oh yeah.
which Bjork.
Yes. Well, she is amazing. And actually, once I'd set, because I love Bjork as well, and once I'd got there and I walked around, her music just completely, I mean, it makes sense anyway, but her music just totally made sense. Of course, you make these kind of big, huge sounds because your landscape is huge. Your ideas are huge because this is what you've grown up in. Yeah. If you ever get the chance to go, just go. It is unlike anything else. It's incredible.
I will, and like her, the sound travels. You can just tell in Iceland, and I play her music all the time. I'm just a big fan, so
It's got to happen.
But I won't sing it though, because I might break a few windows as I'm singing.
Well, I'm with you on that. I like to sing, but only when no one can hear.
What is your favourite food?
Okay, well, this kind of changes around quite a lot. I am vegetarian, so I don't eat meat, but at the minute I'm eating loads of different types of rice. So we've got in the cupboard at home, we've got red rice and brown rice and black rice and white rice and all sorts of mixed rice. Basically, it's because we've discovered that during the pandemic, we've both grown these kind of little tires from sitting down all the time.
I understand.
We're trying to get rid of those by eating quite healthily because we were just eating loads to start off with. Like we tried not to stockpile too much because obviously that's what lots of people were doing. So we tried to be sensible. But I think just because it was a novelty being at home and we were kind of unsure what to do. So we just did a lot of snacking. And because we were sitting down, it was bad. So we've turned, you know, to rice and lots of rice and veg at the minute. But, you know, I said before, my mum is Polish. So I really like kind of things like pickled cabbage and beetroot and horseradish and stew and all those really Eastern European things, I guess, because it's sort of comfort food and it's what I grew up with. So that's favourite food as well. So not exciting particularly, but I can't help it. What's your favourite food?
That's great. And I think since everything has like kind of changed, I've moved into more. I've always been into like organic food, but I've been more so into organic food, eating healthier, having a lot of like vegetable curries and vegetable dishes and different things that we've like experienced with different like parsley and coriander and mixing things together in a fusion, and I must say it tastes amazing. It's well worth a try.
I'm getting a bit hungry now talking about it.
Next question. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about that you've never had the opportunity to share?
Well, I think there is, yeah. Obviously, I talk about art a lot, but that's usually with people who are already engaged in art, who already enjoy it, who want to talk in depth about it. But what I don't really get to do is to talk to people who don't like art or who don't know about art enough. And it's really hard to reach those people. And sometimes people can be, I think people are a bit scared of art sometimes because it's not really taught very well at school. I don't think we're not grown up, we don't grow up with an appreciation for art. Like when I was in Venice, the people who grow up in Venice have art everywhere all the time. It's part of everyday life and they're just used to it. But in this country, we don't really have that in the same way. And art is kind of hidden away in gallery spaces that are sometimes quite daunting, and people don't really know how to react to art or what to do with it. Or so I think one thing I'd just like to say is why art is really important. And it's important for lots of reasons, but for me the main thing is that it's a language that some people speak. And quite often it's a language that people speak, and those people might be, you know, people who aren't listened to in any other language. So when I did my degree, the first impression I got when I walked into my art degree was, oh my goodness, it's all the weird people from school. You know? And it really was. And maybe that's why people are a little scared of art, because it is those weird people, but that's the language of weird people, and you have to listen to us because this is the way that we try to communicate. We might not necessarily be very good with words. Might not be able to communicate through other disciplines, like, I don't know, any other discipline like science, although obviously there are lots of science art crossovers. But it's a language in the same way that music is a language, or Spanish or French or German or Chinese. And so, as with any other language, you have to try and meet people with their language. So that's why, you know, you go to another country, even if it's really embarrassing and you have a horrific accent, you try to speak their language, pick up a couple of words. No one's expecting you to, you know, be fluent or anything. And it's the same with art, you know. This is the only way that some people can communicate. And if we don't listen to those people, then we've lost an entire language, and we've lost a whole view of the world that's as important as any other language. And I don't get to say that often enough, and I don't get to talk about that often enough, because most of the time I'm talking to people who already understand that language and already know its importance, and so don't really need to talk about that. So yeah, I think that's what I'd like to say, that I don't get to say enough. And maybe I should force that point more in the future and try to articulate it, and maybe try to turn conversations round to that, so that if someone's listening who doesn't know anything about art, that's their way in. Just think of it as a language that you learn, and it takes time.
Art, it can bring down barriers, even when people can't speak English. It can just unite people together, and it just takes the whole concept away of be the same as everyone else. It's like you can be different, but you can all do the same thing without communicating. Like, words doesn't need to be.
Absolutely true. In fact, a few years ago, I did a residency in China, and as part of that, I did a few days teaching at a university. And you know, I didn't know any Mandarin. I don't know any Chinese languages at all. I hadn't been there long enough to pick up much more than thank you and please and hello, you know, the typical ones. But all of a sudden, I was there with these students who were about to graduate, and I was trying to help them, and they couldn't speak English either. So we had to find a way of communicating. So we were doing drawings, we were doing lots of pointing, we were going on computers and kind of going this. But we managed it, and we managed to communicate through that shared medium of being visual. So yeah, you're absolutely right. It's international.
And finally, to end this great interview, could you share some inspirational thoughts or words with us?
So a few years ago, I was doing some work in London, and as part of that work, I got to meet different people who work in the art world. So curators, gallery people, all sorts of people. And one of those people was an artist, much, much older than me. He'd had years of experience. He'd been an amazing teacher. He'd done amazing performances. And I was really lucky that I got to speak to him. And I was blathering away about what I should do and how I should do it and how I could kind of get on with my career. And I was sort of saying that I'd seen people over here doing this, and should I do that or should I do this? And he was a very softly spoken, calm person. You know, he takes his time before he speaks, whereas I kind of rush and gabble and go on. He just looked at me and he just went, "Nicola, make your own path." And I thought about that, and I was like, oh, yeah. Never mind what these people are doing over here and those people are doing over there. Make your own path. Work out your path for yourself. make it as you go. And he was absolutely right. It's not about comparing yourself to other people or being in competition. It's about doing what's right for you. And that's true of an art career, but it's just also true of life. You know, something that's good for one person isn't necessarily right for another person. And it really, you know, that short phrase, make your own path, really grabbed me. And it's something that stayed with me and probably I will never forget. You know, if I'm having a bad day or if I'm feeling low, if I'm not sure what I'm doing, I have to just remember the words, make your own path, and it makes me feel better. So that's my inspirational words. Well, not my inspirational words I've taken from someone else, which are very inspirational.
And during listening to your interview, I've learned so much about you just during this short time. And I'm here to say that you are an amazing person. The work you do is inspirational, and the things that you've done with all your people that you've met, and it's just a fantastic work that you've done, and I've enjoyed working with you and doing the advocacies, and you've just got a great personality, and you can just see that you're a really nice person.
Oh,
Inclusive, you keep everyone together, and everyone, like, there's no like separation or anything. Everything is like, it's like in your image, and it's just that everyone gets to understand you through your artwork. It's just really, really is just brilliant, and you are amazing.
thank you. And I'd just like to just say thank you. I'm blushing. My cheeks are going a bit red. That's so lovely to hear. You know, I don't. You kind of, when you're making artwork, you make it for yourself, but you don't really make it for yourself because you want to get it out there into the world. And it's really lovely when you meet people who appreciate it, and that's rare and special as well. You know, not everyone gets art, and sometimes, you know, there's all different tastes out there in the world, but when you meet people and you have a lovely connection, it's just the best thing. So, you know, praise should go to you as well, because there's something clearly there that clicks with you, and that's just brilliant to be able to share that with you. So thank you, that's lovely to know.
Thank you for being a part of the interviews. I hope you can come back in the future and share with us any updates of your artistic journeys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I will do. Take care. Nice to speak to you.
Bye.